Dr. Mchangizi here with your Science Moment. Today I'm going to talk about the conceit or hubris of understanding, something that we talked about in Science Moment number 55. And at the time, the point of the conceit of understanding was that your ingenious scheme to save the world is usually invariably completely ridiculous because none of us are smart enough to understand the complex, massive, multidimensional consequences of our idea to rearrange society. But there's another reason that the conceit of understanding is a useful rule to follow, prescriptive rule to follow, in terms of keeping in mind that none of us and no one should be given that kind of power in controlling a society. And it gets at the hubris part of it, or the conceit. Part of what's implied by the conceit of understanding is that for someone to have the gall to suppose that they could potentially control everybody's freedoms and rearrange society according to their ingenious scheme, well, anybody that would have the gall to do that, if they were given that power, that would require that they have put so much reputation on the line, pushed so much social capital in, that because compared to, let's say, almost anything that you've ever done in your life, you've never put that much reputation in. But if you're controlling, your entire town, your entire city, your state, your entire country, or the world's reaction to something and saying, look, we're going to shut down these businesses, we're going to prevent people from going to school, we're going to enforce this, prevent a whole class of people from even getting into society, these are incredibly galling kinds of powers that one is engaged in, and by virtue of that, you're pushing in more chips than anybody has ever pushed in before. Now, if you push in that many chips, if you put that much reputation on the line, you're not going to think rationally after that. You have too much on the line to potentially ever think rationally. It has to work. If it fails, not only have you just made a mistake, but you're ruined. Historically, you're completely ruined. One of the reasons that we have this notion of the conceit of understanding and that we should prevent any central authority from having that kind of power is not just because they're always going to mess it up, but also they're never going to admit to it, because anybody that pushes in that many chips can't possibly back down, and they won't even realize that that's the reason for not backing down. It'll just happen because that's what happens when you bet that many chips. You just feel like you must be right because you have no choice but to be right to survive. And that was your Science Moment.